This is a small video projector, but does it work? Let's check it out. Dave Taylor here, and I'm checking this out. It's so cool. This is the Apeman mini projector, and as you can see, it's small. In fact, it's 4.1 inches by 4.1 inches by 1 inch thick and 10 ounces. So this, honestly, you can slip in your pocket. And brightness is super important. It goes from 80 to 150 lumens. We'll get back to that in a minute. In fact, I'll give you a full demo, but I'm gonna have to switch to a different room because this one's way too bright for us to do a good demo. Now, let me tell you about it. It is DLP powered. So DLP is digital light processing. It is actually a Texas Instrument chipset that gives you really good video projection. It has a 40-degree keystone adjust. It's a little clumsy in how it does that, but that's okay because it's still workable. Now, let me give you a tour real quick. Is on the right-hand side, there's power and focus forward and backward to sort of get that focus just like you want. On the back, you have DC input for power, 5 volts. You have HDMI input. You have USB out, which I'll get to in a second, and then you have audio out. So you can use headphones, you can plug it into an external speaker as desired. The only input you get is HDMI. There's no Bluetooth, there's no Chromecast, there's no Wi-Fi. It's just a physical wired connection, but that's okay. Now, that USB out's a little interesting because this has a 4,800 milliamp hour battery, which gives you a couple of hours of use depending on if you go to maximum brightness or not. But you can also charge your phone off of the battery that's inside the projector. Now, I'm not sure who would do that and why that would ever come up, but that's what the USB out is for. Plug that in, plug it into your handy telephone, and you've got it charging. Now, again, I'm not sure I would ever use that, but it's an option. Now, to show you the third set of buttons, I'm gonna have to actually hook things up. So let me start out by telling you it comes with a really slick little tiny tripod, and it is tripod friendly, so you can use this little tiny stand, which is certainly convenient, or you can use a full-size tripod or any other system you want to be able to hold it. In the box, it also includes, in addition to that tripod, it includes a pretty heavy-duty HDMI cable and a USB 3 to USB-C power cable and a little tiny power brick that you plug into the wall that gives you the ability to, surprise, actually power the thing. So, just happen to have an extension cord right here. So let's go ahead and power this thing up. And again, for the proper demo, I'm actually gonna have to go into my basement. This room is way too bright for me to be able to show you a low lumens video projector. But for now, let me just plug it in to the USB DC in. And then on the top, I know you can't see this, here's a close-up. The top gives you some additional information on its touch screen. So on the right-hand side are 3 LEDs that give you the status of the battery. And then the other controls, the left and right, minus and plus, are volume controls, and the top and bottom are keystone controls. And then right in the middle is the ability to step between brightness levels. There's eco, there's regular, and there's lightness or brightness. And that gives you 80 or 110, or if it's plugged in like it is right now, it can go up to 150 lumens on its projection, which is pretty good in a really dark room. Now, really important to know, the native HDMI on this, what it actually is projecting, is 854 by 480. So that's 480p, that is not HD, but it can handle up to a 1080p input. So when I hooked it up to my iPhone, as you'll see in a moment, it actually looked really good. You really don't notice that it's a really sort of lower resolution, and that's something that they really had to balance to sort of get the price point that they have. So in fact, there's more to talk about, but let's just switch. Let's go down into my basement, not kidding, and let's hook this thing up and let's have a look and see what the video looks like. I'm down in my basement because it gets really dark in this room, so it's going to be perfect for a demo. Now, I have the projector hooked up to my iPhone and plugged into the wall, and as you can see, it's on the tripod and on a box of Lego to raise it up just enough so that it's at a good angle. Now, the wall I'm projecting on is a textured surface, so it's not going to be super crystal clear, but it still should look good. So, step one, let's turn off the light. And now you get a much better view of the video, and I'm just looking at Netflix. So if I look and scroll up and down Netflix, everything is mirrored on the screen. And let's go ahead and watch the It Crowd. Now, Netflix is one of these where when you play, if it's plugged in, it just switches to the external and rotates. And as you can see, there's nothing wrong with this image quality. This is great, and this audio is coming straight off the projector. This is not off of my phone. And if you haven't ever seen the It Crowd, it's incredibly funny, highly recommended, but you should probably pause that because I don't have the rights to rebroadcast it. So there's your demo, and I can go back to the main screen on my phone and look at other things and try launching a different app and see. This should work just fine too. I can pick a movie, and as with the other one, as soon as you play it, well, I have to authorize, so forget that. I'm not going to go through that hassle. But suffice to say, it's actually a pretty impressive projector. It does a really nice job. The keystone's a little funky to figure out because you don't see what you're doing. You just make a change, and then it comes back and try to figure out if that works for you. But while we're here, let's look at the brightness settings. So here's Eco, and then lightness. And that does turn the fan on, so it makes it a little bit louder. And then standard, and if you listen, you can't even hear the fan. This is one of the quietest projectors I've experienced, which is great. And in terms of all this, well, unfortunately, a whole lot of programs really don't like the horizontal orientation. But let's see what this is. If we go into Amazon Prime Video, at least I'm already logged in here. And this, just like we saw with Netflix, once it loads, and this is actually an iPhone issue, but there you go, there's that image, and we're just going to pause right here. That is nothing to complain about. That is a nice, clean, bright image. Now, let me go back upstairs and we'll talk about some more, including the price. So one thing I didn't mention beforehand was that you need an adapter of some sort, because my iPhone 12 Pro has a lot of power and capabilities, but it does not have a full-size HDMI jack. So I have the Apple adapter. There's plenty of other options, but it's Lightning on one end, and then you get HDMI and another Lightning, so you can power it while you're watching a movie. And then all I did was I plugged the HDMI into my phone, and then I plugged the other end into the projector. So that's how I did that whole demo. And I don't know about you, but I thought it was pretty impressive. I think this is actually a really slick little projector, and particularly for its size. Now, if you're in a big, bright room with lots of windows and it's the middle of the day, it's not going to do very well. That's not what it's designed for, and it's certainly not going to be its best side, right? But if it's late at night and it's dark and you just want to push something onto a wall, or if you have a little projector screen, or you even want to just put up a piece of paper and project onto that so you can share, this is actually a pretty slick solution for that. And it works really well with movies. And one thing I will say is I've looked at a lot of these projectors and they don't get very loud, which is problematic. This one actually gets to a decent volume at full volume. Now, the demo I gave was at 100% volume, so it's not going to get louder than that. But it also has audio out. So if you really wanted more audio, you could plug in an external speaker, or you could just do headphones or something, and that would work fine. You know, you would obviously have a lot of wires going on at that point, but still, you could certainly lay and relax and watch something on like a hotel wall with your kids or something. That would be great. And because you don't have to worry about like having an SD card preloaded or anything you can push to this, including any gaming system that has HDMI out, this will work perfectly fine with. So anything that pushes out HDMI, from a Switch to a PS5 to your PC laptop, this will work fine with. So that's really nice. Again, like I said, there's controls on the top, there's a bunch of inputs on the back, there are controls on the the right side, and it is tripod friendly. I imagine you'll probably just permanently have this tripod on, but it's actually kind of a neat tripod too. They did a nice job because you can adjust it. If for some reason you have an uneven surface, you can actually adjust the legs independently to get it to be level. And that's pretty handy. And what else can I tell you? So 4,800 milliamp hour battery, like I said, couple hours, maybe one full movie depending on how bright you have it. But honestly, you're probably gonna just plug it into a power source because it's gonna work better and be just a little bit brighter that way. And it's really quiet. And again, one of the things I think Apeman's done really well with this particular projector is they don't have a big, loud, annoying fan. Now, what would I do differently? Well, the keystone adjustment is a little bit awkward because, like I said, you push the keystone adjust, the screen goes black, and then it comes back slightly adjusted. So that's a little bit tricky to get it to be just so. That might be a technological issue. They also ship with a really heavy-duty, relatively short HDMI cable, and there are thinner, longer cables out there. So I would actually prefer to see them have a cable that's twice as long and half as thick because it would just make it a lot easier to travel with than having this one. But honestly, those are all minor quibbles. The fact is you can hook up any HDMI source to this and it's going to project and it's going to look pretty darn decent. So there's a lot to like about that. Really, the only thing left to talk about is the price. But before we get to the price, let me ask, if you don't mind, go ahead and click on that subscribe button so you can subscribe to my channel. That would be great. Thank you. All right, now this is the Apeman mini projector and it's $219.99, but right now I noticed that there was a $50 coupon. So you apply that coupon and it comes down to $169.99 at Amazon.com, and that's a pretty solid price for something like this that gives you so much flexibility in terms of taking really any video source and projecting it onto a wall. And you can project it up to 100 inches across, so it can get pretty darn big. Now, if you make it too big, then you're going to find that it's just not really super bright, and then it might start to get a little grainy. But honestly, I found that if I wanted to do it about the size of a 50-inch television or something, it looked terrific. So that's really all I got. I might go back and watch some of the It Crowd. It's such a funny series. I'm sad, very sad that they didn't make more, but that's how it goes. So with that in mind, I will have to catch you in my next video.